confidence. I don't have any of it. I'm kind of like Zenitsu. I suffer from being an introvert, or let me reiterate. I suffer from being the weird kid because my interests did not align with anyone else's growing up. I was into a lot of the shows, like cartoons, that not a lot of kids were into. Maybe that's why I was an anime fan, but my interests were here. Everyone else's was here. So not the same at all. There is a gap between that. So I definitely was, of course, forced to enjoy some of the things that the other kids liked, even if I thought it was stupid, because I wanted to fit in. Like, and look, classic introvert story, you know, I don't have confidence sharing about my interests because people thought it was weird, so I'd be quiet about it. You know, tale old as time, right? I like a show. I know people don't like this show. I'm going to be quiet about it and move on. You know what I mean? So, because of me being an introvert and wanting to be by myself, not because I was scared necessarily of people around me, but I just found so much enjoyment with spending time to myself. Which now is funny because now I'm in the opposite predicament where I spend too much time as an extrovert and now I'm trying to reel it back in to save some time for myself. That's a whole nother can of worms I'll get into. But the reason why I'm mentioning this in particular is because of the way I was introverted, the reason why I ended up developing a lot of friendships with a lot of not great people and not great friends, because I was seeking something that I thought genuine friendship was, and it wasn't, because I wasn't used to what authentic relationships were. It could also be because I was like 8 and I didn't know that it was going to have lasting consequences, the people you choose to make friends with years down the line, because the people you make, and people think, oh yeah, no, you make new friends. Of course you do. But your core set of friends that you grow up with, especially if you go to the same elementary school, middle school, and high school, they'll carry over and you'll know everyone. And if you friend the wrong people for the wrong reasons, like I did, you'll pay for it. And I did. And now I have a lot of self-confidence issues because the friends that I thought I had would constantly put me down and wouldn't share the same interests as me. Even if I opened up more and was more open about the things I liked, despite them being controversial. And I don't mean controversial as political. I want to state that. I mean it as in I don't have any shame in saying this. I am a Batman v Superman fan. I think Zack Snyder had a great Elseworlds take on DC lore. A lot of people don't feel the same way as me. They think DC needs to be perfect and very faithful to the comics, and therefore it is trash. Everything he does is trash. And so I had a lot of problems growing up because even though I tried my best to reason, you know, I was alienated because everyone else didn't see the same way I did. So maybe that's a little bit of where the confident issues arise with me, where I can be very timid and shy, especially in social circles, with friends at the time, because I felt put down. I didn't feel supported by anyone. The things I loved, I was told to hate. The things I didn't hate anything, but things I wasn't a fan of, other people loved to death. So it was like sort of like a weird place to be. And luckily I was able to escape that by going to college. College was great. I met a great group of friends who welcomed me, taught me like what real friends are and are supposed to be. And this is like the prime indicator for me on how I knew I found my friends. And I have to thank Fairy Tail for it. That's why Fairy Tail is my favorite anime, because it taught me like, look, this is what friends do. We'll rib on each other all the time. We'll crack jokes. But the difference between friends is the friends I had in the past would abandon me if like I fell behind, if I was like slow or needed to tie my shoe or something. They'd run off and like leave me. If I tied my shoe with my real friends, they would wait for me. Or they would stop at the corner and wait and then ask if I was okay. That's how you know the difference between friends. So it was because of them that I was able to open up more and become very much the extrovert. Like I'm an extrovert because I'm streaming, you know? Like that's how confident I am to talking with what I know. But the problem is nowadays, whenever I talk to strangers, I still have that confidence issue where I don't feel inclined to share that I have a streaming channel, or I like these YouTubers, or I like anime, you know, specifically fairy tale. And I can say that to friends. I can't say that to strangers, that's a lie. I can't say it to some strangers because I feel like there's an amount of judgment that will be caused because I share an opinion of mine that is a little bit weird and off. And so if a stranger goes up to me and says they love fairy tale, I will be your instant friend. If you don't say anything, I'm going to be a little bit weird opening up to you. That's just how it is. That's just how I am. And it's because of this complicated relationship where I went from introvert to extrovert, but with like the right people and the right groups, that now I have confidence issues with my friends. Because now my friends, I'll say things and now I'm like second guessing myself because of the trauma that I had to deal with growing up. Because the friends at that time would always like put me down, say I wasn't great, or would say anything I liked was like the dumbest thing ever, you know? So that reinforcement, even though I know it's not true and I moved past that, it still affects me deep down in here. So yeah, it's just like, it's tough. And especially with like this week, and I'm not gonna lie, I've mentioned this before, it's been a tough week for me. Cause I was up here and now I'm down here. And it's not great. It really isn't. And I've made a video talking about like my mental health. That's how like rough it is I made a whole stream about it, edited it down, and made it into a VOD. Like it was so depressing. My internet halfway through, and you'll see I edited that video, cut out for like a good couple minutes because it was too depressed to hear the rest of my like the awful things I was going through and my mental health. It was I don't know, I just thought it was funny. But yeah, so with the confidence thing, I'm now sort of in this weird place where I like to say I'm more of an omnivert now instead of an extrovert, because there are times where my social battery is drained. I can't talk to anyone. I can't talk to my family. I can't talk to friends. Not because I hate them or I'm in a bad mood with them. It's just I'm not in the mood, period. So I need to like boot up Marvel Rivals. I need to play Genshin Impact, you know? Just something where I can spend my free time listening to music to do my own thing and have peace of mind. And I mentioned this before, like what is comfortable for you? What is your happy place? And to me, that's what it is. Just taking that leisure time for myself to just hang out. And that's what also like I think sometimes does get into my way when I try to be confident, especially with, and I think it also deals with a lot of situations that I'm not that familiar with. I also lose confidence there. If it's not something I'm like well versed in, whether like if it's anime, I'm confident in that. Yeah, I can talk hours about anime, whether it's my favorite show or my opinions, whether you're wrong or whether you're right. Yeah, I can talk about that. If we're talking about like JoJo, for example, we were talking JoJo earlier for a while, and I'm like, exactly. But like anime, but then if it's like something like, oh, what my, for example, what my job is, you know, about dating and like real life relationship, what it means to be in relationships. I don't have that much experience with it or familiarity with it. So I'm going to be a little bit more like cautious with my words and maybe not have the best confidence within my answers. That's where I think I get a little bit stalled in my thinking and how I act. And you'll notice this too. If I come up with anything, whether it's a topic, like about, that's why I try and stay away from politics in general. Cause one, I don't think I'm that well versed in politics. I'm not really the best speaker. And I feel like anything I say will just be misconstrued heavily. I just don't want to like open that can of worms. Like I just don't. Also because I feel like it's the same thing with the confidence issue. I just can't say anything with confidence because I don't know right from wrong. Because everyone has an agenda and I just choose to opt out. I will talk about like the politics of a kingdom, like the different types of government, and talking about like fictional settings like Luffy versus the Marines and liberation, in the idea of One Piece. But I just struggle to find it because it's different talking about fiction because there's absolutes in fiction as opposed to like the real world, which is a lot more gray. So, and I will also admit this too. When I was streaming, before my hiatus, when I was still streaming, the biggest fear for me, and this is where my confidence was at my lowest, was watching what I was saying because I was scared of being canceled or potentially losing my job for whatever reason. Even though anything I said, which I thought back on, everything I said isn't worthy of being fired from my job. Like, I don't mention my job. I don't bring up my job. But for some reason, in the back of my head, I think I'm toast if, like, my stream career gets out. I personally just keep it under wraps now because I just want to separate private from professional. But if it does get out, it's a whatever kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not as scared anymore to, like, speak my mind and, like, have opinions about things that I feel are my opinions, but maybe not everyone agrees with. Like how I actually think Demon Slayer Infinity Castle Part 1 was an amazing movie, except for the pacing. I thought the pacing was atrocious, but I also understand that was more of the manga itself as opposed to the adaptation, because all the adaptation was doing was following the manga. And I already know that from people I've talked to, the Infinity Castle saga is a little bit rushed. The last part of Demon Slayer is a little bit rushed, so just be prepared for that. But I'll let know that is a flaw. It is the pacing and then the flashbacks, the constant flashbacks. As much as it adds so much to the story, I feel like you could have spaced it out better so you don't get bogged down with seeing all these flashbacks and ruining the momentum. But then it begs the question, was this better as like an anime format? Like where it's like an 23-minute episodes? Would that have done better service than a movie? And then it would have felt more natural? I don't know. But I will say the pacing was bad. Or in my opinion, like how I had this amazing experience with the Spy Family Code White movie. I thought that was a great movie. And it was ruined because teenagers were talking. And I'll rant about how I hate teenagers. Call me boomer. I am Gen Z. Call me boomer. Anyways. I hate teenagers because they don't understand that even though it's an anime, don't talk during the movie. It's a movie still. Don't talk. It's not that hard. If you're in a movie theater and it's an anime movie, guess what? It's still a movie theater. Don't talk. My goodness. It's crazy. Yeah, and it is funny though, when I go on a rant, I gain so much confidence. That is where I will say there are times where I'm at my lowest confidence. I am at my highest when I'm arguing about something I know I'm right on. It is the greatest feeling in the world, okay? How I argue Fairy Tail is the greatest anime of all time and you cannot prove me wrong. I have yet to lose. That is something I still hold a dub over. What else? Oh, I am seeing Chainsaw Man tomorrow. I'm so pumped about that. Dude, Chainsaw Man's gonna be so peak. It's Reze arc, right? I've always said Reese, but it's Reze, I think. But anyways, Bomb Devil. I'm just gonna say Bomb Devil. Bomb Devil arc is, I thought it was one of my favorite WTF moments in the manga. To see it animated is gonna be crazy. It's gonna be glorious. But like again, I'm gonna go as an anime fan, and I was thinking of maybe doing this fun TikTok of me dressing up in a suit and going, but this is after a full day at work. I'm gonna be like absolutely drenched in sweat. I don't know if I want to put on a suit, you know, like I'm gonna come back after work, you know, shower, and then head out to the theater. I don't know if I want to like put on a suit and do all of that again, you know, after that long day of work. But that's just me. But yeah, so I think where my issue lies is I am very confident. It's weird. I think the best way to describe who I am as a person, at least currently when it comes to confidence, is JoJo Part 5. Yes, it's another JoJo's reference. Yes, I know this is like the third time, but hey, there's can't go wrong with too many JoJo references, okay? But I am like Diavolo. In the sense of, you know how Diavolo had two personalities? I forgot what his second one was. But how Diavolo was this mastermind, this evil person, and this other one was just like some like wimpy kid. That's who I am. There are moments where I have so much confidence. I'm like king of the world, main character syndrome going on. Like I am the best. I'm S rank hunter. I am peak solo leveling, you know? And then there's other times where I'm feeling like gutter trash. And there is no in between for me. I'm toggling between these two moods of way too much confidence, not enough confidence. Way too much confidence, not enough confidence. So whenever someone says, hey, you need to cool it, I think even lower. I feel so horrible. And then when I'm down here and people will think, oh no, you're amazing. You're one of the best people I know. Super high up. So it's sort of this weird mental thing for me where it's like I'm way too hard on myself, but then I'm also too easy on myself. And that is like the issue. And I said this will be the death of me. It really will. Because there will come a time where I'm going to have to make a difficult decision. And if I'm down here where I'm feeling awful, I'm not going to be able to make that decision right. And I'm going to be, you know, second guessing myself, and I'm going to be insecure. Or I'm going to be way up here and then someone's going to say something, some criticism, and I'm going to fall back down here. That's how it goes with me. It's such an interesting thing. It's such a weird thing, but it is interesting. And the main thing that I've learned from talking about these things is as long as you recognize, and this is the difference between sociopaths and me and psychopaths and me, is psychopaths and sociopaths will not admit it. They'll just continue to do it without improving themselves, or they think it's a good thing to be in this state. I do not think it's a good thing to be in this state of back and forth confidence. And this is what someone told me. It's the first step is recognizing your problem and doing something about it. So I need to somehow, and this is like a weird thing to say, I feel like it's just the extreme ends of north and south, right? And all I gotta do is meet at the equator where I need my confidence levels, my overconfidence needs to drop down heavily and be like, look, I'm awesome, but don't be up here. You know what I mean? Like, don't be like, I'm the Chad. I walk around the playground. I'm so cool. The girls throw themselves at me. As much as I made jokes about that growing up, where it's like, oh yeah, girls love me. But of course, I made it as a joke because I thought it was stupid. But still, just the idea of that, I just think I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that anymore. Of like thinking I'm up here, that I could theoretically have like any girl who's interested in me, they could probably become my girlfriend if I put in the effort. That was kind of my mentality. And even if it is true, I think it was a very toxic one to have, because now I'm at a state where I'm like, well, dang, why'd I do that to myself? Why did I like put in my head I'm like this Giga Chad? Because now I'm looking at all this, like all the things that some horrible people have said, and I'm like, well, that's just objectification. But then if they're doing it, what was I doing back then as like, what, a 15-year-old? You know what I mean? So making sure I correct my behavior, and then my underconfidence, where I think, oh, people think I'm pathetic, I'm weak, I'm down here. No one likes me. Nah, like, come back up. You know it's not true. Why are you being hard on yourself? If you're being hard on yourself to be humble and modest, don't do that. So it just depends on like what you're feeling at the time. Because for me, my issue isn't I'm up here or down here. My issue is I need to narrow it so it's not as bad, not as extreme. And I'm fine. And the best part about it is I'm confident about explaining my mental health problems. I'm confident about sharing these things about myself, because my goal isn't to put down anyone or shame anyone who's dealing with similar things as me, but I'm more trying to give insight on what I'm dealing with, because I want everyone to know that even though I'm a streamer, I'm just human. If I'm like one viewer or 100,000 viewers, current viewers on Twitch or YouTube, that's not going to change who I am. I'm just a dude, who sits behind a camera, and not even a camera, a webcam, and just yaps. Like, this stream was spur of the moment earlier this morning. I'm like, what should I talk about? Oh, confidence. Okay. We'll throw in the Zenitsu into the thumbnail, and then we'll go from there. It's not really that much foresight. It's just we kind of roll with the punches.